In today's episode, shut down my bakery, you say? Sure. Sequel to Exactly 1 Pound, you say? Sure. Fired for hair restaurant had to close down. Aim at the middle target. So let's get started. Shut down my bakery, you say? Sure. Sequel to Exactly 1 Pound, you say? Sure. I wasn't expecting to have a follow-up, but a lot happened in the past month that culminated in another little MC with a side of petty revenge from me, so I figured I'd give you all an update. Apologies if this is a little long. Firstly, a little recap. I'm a law student graduating in less than a week actually. I run a part-time bakery from my home kitchen because it helps me de-stress in between the work, and I donate all proceeds to my charity, so it's also a way of raising funds. Mine is the only bakery in my entire locality, so it became super popular amongst the families in my area super fast, and everyone especially loves my tart cakes. Last month, this one lady demanded 1 pound of this tart cake for the 1 pound price, no more, no less. So I gave her exactly that, and she was not happy and vowed she would never buy from me again, and make sure to tell everyone she knew not to either. For the sake of convenience, I will refer to her as EW going forward. Just a few days after this incident, I got infected with you-know-what. Thankfully, it wasn't a severe case, but my pre-existing health conditions did not help and, at least for a week in there, I couldn't even sit up in bed. It just wrecks your body completely. I am still barely recovering. During that week, on one of the days when I had just a teensy bit more energy, I made one post on my Instagram blog about these breads that I baked before I tested plus VE, and my caption explicitly mentioned that I tested plus VE, that this was made before I went into quarantine. EW saw that post on Instagram, and I guess she didn't bother reading my caption. She repeatedly called me that day, constantly disturbing me and my rest till I gave in and picked up her call. Completely casual, no acknowledgement of our previous disagreement and her staunch vow to never support my business, she just went straight into it. Hello, yeah, I saw your photo of those breads on Instagram and they look really nice. I want a basket of it tomorrow morning. I told her that I am sick and quarantined, but also, I thought she was never going to buy from me again? She just laughed and said, no, those are just things one says star. Please make those breads and send them over by tomorrow morning. So I told her again that I am sick with a highly contagious and deadly virus. I am not taking any orders right now. I heard her rant about today's generation as I hung up on her. She called me thrice over the period of my quarantine, each time for a different dish, and each time the conversation went the same. Apparently, she was okay with me making them because she has antibodies, but like I am sick and incapable of getting out of bed? Let alone bake? Like I also mentioned, I am graduating. I have a lot of assignments and exams ongoing, and they sort of piled up because I couldn't do anything for almost 3 weeks. On top of that, I am also recovering, and it's not been easy, so I sent out a broadcast message saying I won't be taking any orders for May. Any baking I've done the last few days has been just stress busters and easy stuff that does not require a lot of effort. On Sunday, I made a baked eggless cheesecake, something I've had on my to-do list for the longest time. Pick on my profile if you're interested, and made a very excited post about it on my blog because it came out perfectly. The post was barely up and EW called me. Sigh. I respond because it's just too much of a hassle to ignore her at this point. Child ****, I saw this mango cake type thing just now on Instagram, can you make 1 pound? Yeah, she's still hung up on the 1 pound, of that and 4 loaves of freshly baked bread for tomorrow. I want them by 8 a.m., just in time for breakfast. And I'm just gobsmacked because firstly, I don't take orders on such short notice, I need at least 48 hours so I can plan and prepare accordingly. Secondly, for loaves of bread by 8 in the morning means I would have to make them all night long, which I am definitely not doing. This is a part-time home bakery, not a bread factory. Third, she knows I'm not taking orders right now. So I told her all of this and boy, she was pissed. She started ranting about how unprofessional I am, how she's tried so many times to place orders with me, but I'm highly irresponsible and losing out on so many orders, and then ended it all with, if you don't know how to run a bakery then close it, and go back to doing whatever you were doing before. Here's the thing, I will officially be a lawyer in July. I knew when I started this wasn't a long-term thing. After I graduate, I will barely have time to bake, forget baking professionally. I was initially planning on doing this while I was still unemployed, but I figured I can dedicate a month or so to just the job hunt. So I sent out another broadcast message stating that XYZ Bakery will officially be closing after June, and I will no longer be taking orders, due to some recent negative feedback. One of my regular clients called me and wanted to express how sorry she was to hear, wanted the whole story. So I told her everything EW told me that day about being unprofessional, and that I should shut down my bakery. My culture likes to infantilize my generation, and I played my part of the sweet young kid who was scolded by an older woman and had obviously taken the scolding to heart, because kids should always respect their elders. What I didn't know was that my regular and EW are SILs. They're both married to two brothers, and live next door to each other. My regular complained to their MIL about EW's behavior, and MIL berated her heavily for behaving so rudely with a child. I'm 23, but as long as it works for me, and she should have more maturity as the adult. So today I got a call from EW with what is the typical adult way of apologizing. Child, why are you taking my words to heart? These are just things one says. I was only trying to help you be more professional and prepare you for the outside world. Don't close your bakery. I replied to her in a really innocent tone, no, auntie, you are absolutely right. I shouldn't be baking, I should go back to law and focus on finding a job. I will do that, I won't take any more orders after June. My mom's friend who basically runs the gossip channel of the neighborhood told mom that EW is being blamed by all the ladies for shutting down the only bakery in our area, and she is no longer invited to their weekly Zoom Tambula evenings. Literally translated from my language. Basically a phrase that is used regularly over here, means that some things are just meant to be said and not taken seriously. Asterisk just a way for the older generation to refer to the younger generation, kind of like how son is used in the West. The word is actually the same word for son in our language, but is used neutrally more. Fired for hair restaurant had to close down. When I was in high school, I got a part-time job as a hostess at an Italian restaurant with a friend of mine. The restaurant was only open 5 days a week for dinner. The restaurant was fairly new but was already filling every table every night because the food was amazing. In addition to my friend and I being the only two hostesses, the busboys were friends, half of the waiters were friends and the dishwasher was a friend. The owner's son was the floor manager and with the success of the restaurant started to implement new changes. Everyone must look presentable and in uniform at all times. No dirty uniforms. Even for the busboy. He was rather rude to all employees and would hover and take over our jobs right in front of customer apologizing for our inability to do our jobs correctly. However, everyone there was fantastic at their jobs. The dishwasher even found creative ways to stay clean and tidy. The straw broke one night when my friend and I were both working the hostess stand on a packed Saturday night. The manager walked up to us and declared our hair was not compliant with dress code. Both of us had our hair pulled back in the requisite buns. However, we both had a few stray wisps. You know, those tiny little new hairs around your face. Never mind that it was August, and it was hot and we were all working as a team like crazy to make sure the night ran smoothly, sharing duties such as bussing tables and running food and drinks, underage. He loudly fired both of us on the spot in front of the entire restaurant and front staff. He then said we were required to continue to work for 2 weeks and train our replacements. I asked, are we fired? He said yes. And I said firing means every don't work for you anymore. We walked out, punched our cards and went to change out of our uniforms. When we got out of the dressing room, there was a line of people waiting to change, including the bus boys, half the waitstaff, and the dishwasher. All were so mad about what had happened that they quit on the spot. No one liked the job anyway. We all went to IHOP to eat, and were soon joined by the rest of the waitstaff and the line cooks. So all that was left of the entire restaurant staff was the bartender, the owner/cook, and the manager. I later heard that the owner just decided to shut down the restaurant, because the only reason he started it was to provide his son a legacy from the family businesses in Italy, and he decided his son couldn't handle it. Aim at the middle target. When I was a teenager, my dad's friend invited our family to his house for dinner. Sometime before the meal, he brought my dad and I into the backyard where he had an archery range set up. He showed us his brand new crossbow, which he'd spent his Christmas bonus on. It was a fucking rad crossbow, and it was obvious that he was really proud of it. He even bought the most expensive crossbow bolts that he could find. After demonstrating it and letting my dad fire a few shots, he asked my dad if he thought I could handle it. Dad chuckled and said, "He's never fired a crossbow, but I think he'll be fine." I loaded the crossbow, standing fewer than 10 meters in front of the target. There were 5 bullseyes on the target, arranged like the 5 pips on a die. My dad's friend told me to aim for the middle target. I did, and the bolt went into the bottom right target, a few inches off center. I told him how cool it was and thanked him for letting me use it. He loaded it again, handed it to me, and said, "Try again. It's a really accurate crossbow. If you line up the sights on the center target, it will go right in the middle. Just don't aim for the bottom right again, because I don't want to risk hurting the bolts." Hey race, what he didn't know, while it's true I had never fired a crossbow, my dad had spent the last decade teaching me how to shoot guns. And I was good. I don't want to brag too much, because I've seen much better shooters, but I was good enough that when I joined the army a few years later, there were a few times where I had to zero my rifle multiple times, because I would fire 3 shots and make 2 holes in the paper. Firing a crossbow is a bit different, but the skills transfer easily. I told him, "I think I'll aim for the top left this time." "No. Don't do that. I don't want the bolt to get lost. Just aim for the middle target." That's what I did the last time. I think the sights just aren't adjusted for my eyes. Just line up the sights on the middle target, and that's where it will go. I looked over at my dad and he was just smiling, so I decided to do exactly what he said. I aimed for the center target and the bolt took the same trajectory as the last one. It wasn't a Robin Hood shot where the second bolt goes into the first, but it was close enough to break the notch and destroy some of the fetching. Nobody said anything for a moment, then my dad's friend said, "That was a $50 bolt." My dad replied, "Then you should have let him aim for the top left." If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.